Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the House Medium. I'm Adele Levine, your House Medium, and I have a really interesting episode. And I also feel like, hold on, those of you watching, I'm going to get my lighting right. There we go. It was like washing me out. It was a little too much. Anyway, also, this is going to be very fitting, meaning like I have a little story to tell, which we're going to jump into the Medium Brew Cafe, and I will tell my story. I had to turn my lights on. I'm a little beat. I had a great day at Disneyland, did the 9 yards at Disneyland. As you get older, it was like uh exhausting, but amazing. As you get older doing those types of things, you're like, it's amazing, but you need a little more time to recover. I feel like I'm looking at myself and I have quite big bags under my anyway. um I have a really interesting episode because this episode is going to be educational, and it's going to be a warning. I'm trying to get my lighting right because I'm not enjoying this lighting. For those of you who go to psychics, yes, because I am all about educating people on the real deal and learning how to tell the difference. I absolutely believe 100% know that there are people who are there to rip you off. And funny enough, we're going to go into the Medium Brew Cafe. So let's open and go in and we're going to talk about it. I have a good,
Time for paranormal gossip.
yep, paranormal gossip for you. So I was watching TikTok as one does, and I love this guy. His name is called Real Ray William. He basically does a lot of crime type of. He retells crime stories and he tells them in a perfect way. And his whole shtick is he'll tell a story like this lady, this man, and this was happening and everything was cool until that's his like trademark thing that he says. Those of you watching on YouTube, by the way, if you're listening to this, I'm cleaning. There you go. Right in front of you, I'm cleaning the camera. Those of you who listen to this, I do post these podcasts on my YouTube, and you can watch them there if you will. If you want. Anyway, he does crime stuff, and he's a great storyteller. And he did one on a fake psychic, and her name's Sophia. And Sophia, it calls herself a psychic medium, gets a hold of somebody he's a mayor in, I think, Italy. Pretty sure if I'm telling the story right. And he lost his father and he misses his father and he wants to get a hold of his father who died. And she's like, I can, do that for you. So, he gets a reading from her. And of course, the problem that I have whenever these stories are told is that people just have this attitude of, yeah, everybody's like that. And it's kind of annoying and difficult when you do this kind of work because I could tell you a million stories about terrible doctors that have been, or dentists that have ripped me off. I even saw someone telling a story about how most dentists lie and rip people off. And you can do this in any field, but when you're talking about my field, people get more and more salty about it because you don't have a degree and you don't have any proof that you actually studied anything. So, and it's so filled with scammers. It's true. Now, why am I telling you the story? Because it's very fitting to the email I'm going to read, which I can't wait for you guys to hear. And I saved this story to tell you guys, and I was like, oh my god, this is like when I was like, I want to do something in Media Brew Cafe. I want to do something. Is there any paranormal gossip I have for them? And then I realized I had this story, and I'm like, how perfect for this episode. Okay, so he goes to her. She claims that she can contact her father, but here is the clincher. So it's one thing to give a reading, but he goes in person and there's a voice speaking. Apparently she's like a ventriloquist, so she's mastered that. So she's able to throw her voice. Now this is why I always tell people getting proof what you guys always think of as proof, like, oh, if I hear something or if I see something, then I'll know it's real, isn't what actually proves should be proof to you. It's what you're feeling. If you sense this feels like right, or if you have a feeling like this is feels like the person, or they're saying something to you very random. See, people always get caught up in like, oh, if I heard their voice or if I saw them or if all these things people think are going to like actually prove it's real. And actually, those are so much easier to fake than it is to say, like, tell you a conversation that you had with the person before they died, like on their deathbed, or something they told you when you were a child, or a picture that was around, hidden in your attic. Those things, not so, it's not very glamorous. And what she did is she did a seance, so to speak, or whatever, and then like through her voice, and he's like convinced, oh, that sounds like my father. Now hold on to that thought, because that's going to be very fitting into the email I'm going to read. So she does this for a while, so he starts to believe, and then she starts to ring him up, or his dead father rings him up, and starts calling him on the phone. And he's, oh my god, that's my father calling me on the phone. Okay. And the funniest jokes that Real Ray says is like one of the laziest ghosts calling over the phone. Cause like if a spirit could call over the phone, then they would just like do all kinds of other things, which is correct. Okay, that's his point. Anyway, so it starts calling him on the phone. He's believing it's his dad. Meanwhile, she's like upping the ante. Like now his dad wants, of course, him to take care of her. And she's going on vacation. She's buying houses. And he's embezzling all of this money from, you guessed it, the government, because he is the mayor. So anyway, eventually she gets caught. She goes to jail. He gets caught and he goes to jail because he's embezzling money. Sadly, she took advantage of his broken heart and took advantage of him. And sadly, I don't blame him. He's just a grieving guy, really thinking that he's like needs her, and that's his only way to the father. So here's the thing. There are many, many scam people like this. However, people who are for real really try to kind of like give you what you need and then kind of help you move, forward in your own communication or your own connection and things like this. And it makes it so hard for those of us who are trying to be legit, who are trying to really help people. I think what people get really leery about is when someone's like, oh, the only way to have this is through me and there's no other way. And that's what's painful. That's when people get mad. I have people tell me all the time, oh, you're full of shit. You're this, you're this, you're that, all the time. And I think it's because it's an anger that they think people like who do what I do are assuming. But it's a great story. Go follow him. He's Real Ray Williams on TikTok. Some of you may even follow him already. So I thought it was an interesting story because she like goes all out. Being a bleh. She's able to throw her voice. I can't say it. And she's like doing phone calls. I mean, she's getting elaborate and elaborate. And that's the other thing. Whenever things are so elaborate, don't get so mesmerized by prompt and circumstance by people who do all of these like, glamorous imageries, and they're floating down the stairs, or they're trying to get your attention through all of these amazing things. People who are real are pretty, it's not as glamorous as you think. It's pretty like basic. It may be just like your butcher. Do people have butchers anymore? I was going to say your butcher. I mean, do people have butchers anymore? Anyway, you see what I'm saying. So I thought it was a great story, and a sad story, but man, she like went all out. Like she had him hooked for the longest time, and he was believing it the whole time it was his father. It is very sad, but hopefully one day he can just connect to him on his own, meaning like open his heart. But I thought it was an interesting one. Now let's get into our email because, before we leave the Medium Brew Cafe, do I have any announcements? Oh, yes, I do have Getting back to you workshop that we're doing this weekend with Jackie. Do you remember me talking about it? I'll talk to you about it later, so stay tuned for that. All right, let's get into the email. Okay, hold on. This will be a good one. It's short, but packed full of stuff. Hi, Adela. For some reason, it never occurred to me, and this is from Mary, so shout out to Mary. For some reason, it never occurred to me to write to you about this experience I had last year, which I think was paranormal. I think because it was so traumatic, I blocked it out of my mind. Basically, I am traveling around outside in South America, and my parents convinced me to visit a group of healers that claim they are mediums and put you in contact with a saint who can heal you. I have a chronic illness, so I signed up for it because it seemed innocent and I heard good things about it. What was in store for me, however, I never could have expected. It's always a good story when someone says that. So basically, you go to a house where they perform the service, of which consists of getting a diagnosis from the saint. Then, following a set of rituals, the first time I went with my parents. The medium for this, with my parents, the medium for the saint brought me into a small room where she told me to put my hands over a glass of water and cotton, and we did a prayer. When I was about to go into the room with her, something told me that something was weird going to happen. I just had a knowing, and I think that helped me not to totally lose my mind. And over what happened next, because I was not prepared. LOL. Basically, we were doing the page over the glass with the water and the cotton started to turn red, and she told me it was blood and that she would have to swallow it to a priest. She would have to show it, not swallow it, show it to a priest. Oh my gosh, that would have been weird too, but hold on to your hats because it does get weird. Hold on to a priest. Had to show it to a priest. Sorry, blah, blah, blah. Show it to a priest for interpretation. I was so shocked that this had happened since I had not expected something like this to happen at all. And so I obviously went along with what she said, which was to purchase some huge candles so they could pray over them. Okay, sorry, I got a little excited, so that's why I was getting a little, crazy. Oh, and I forgot before I went there, they had me buy a candle so they could say a mass over it. And basically, they did a few days later, they sent me a picture of the candles completely destroyed. Of course. Of course. The candles were completely destroyed. A picture, she says, not in person. Okay, I want you guys to keep that in mind. A picture of it, not in person. Okay. All right. Destroyed, and they told me that had exploded, and that meant that I had dark magic, and I needed to go right away. Of course. Okay, so the next time I went to see them, it was to meet one of the priests that would interpret what the blood in the water meant. So I did go meet with him, and he told me I needed to make an altar to the saint and that I needed to come in again after the second candles I had purchased were prayed over so I could purge, quote, the curse. At this point, the situation was getting weirder. Can you imagine? It gets weirder and weirder, but I was kind of scared, but also kind of skeptical, but I felt too far gone into it. And let me just say, this is what happens. It's like gambling. You're like, I've put too much into it. Something needs to pay off. Okay, let me move on. So I made the altar and I waited. I felt very anxious and kind of ripped off too because the candles were a bunch of money. Surprise! That's what you say. Shocker. Shocker. Okay. LOL, but the blood in the water was haunting me, so I had to keep going. So after waiting, finally it came time for me to go in and purge, and this is where it got out of hand. Yep, it gets more out of hand, everybody. They had me they had told me to get amoxicillin, an antibiotic, coffee grounds, a bottle of water, and I think a string. So I did, and I went back there, and this time I made sure I had my parents with me. So the priest and the medium did a ritual with me and my parents. I honestly don't remember much of it, but the main part was that I had to swallow the pill with a string tied around it, which they would use to pull out the curse from inside me. Hmm. This next part is a bit graphic, so I understand you don't want to include it. Oh, we're including it. And it's not too graphic, so don't worry, everybody. It's okay. This story, but basically, I did do that, and the priest pulled it out and I ended up coughing up a black centipede looking worm. I basically threw it up and I saw it and felt it come out of me. LOL. I think she's trying to keep humor about herself. So at this point, I was like, what the hell is this? Is this real life? LOL. Like I said, never expecting anything happen, and like it's probably one of the weirdest things that has ever happened to me. Basically, I expected this ritual to be symbolic type of thing, but then this happened. And well, that was the end of the process for me. They put the worm into the coffee ground and burnt it, but they also told me that my dad had been also cursed, of course, because now her parents are cursed. I mean, of course it is. And we had to do a second process for him to get rid of it and for us to know who the people were that had put the curse on me. So we did that and we went there one last time, and the ritual consisted out in me picking one of my ancestors and asking them to help us. And they had asked me to bring some white sheets of paper, which I did. They put the sheets of paper over the candle, and suddenly, like magic, text appeared, and the writing was in the same handwriting that the ancestor I had picked used. They read it and told me who it was, who put the curse, and that we were all safe from it now. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. So basically, LOL, what I want to know is what the hell happened? Like, are these people legit, or did they pull a huge scam on me? Willis doing some black magic that caused me to spit that thing out? Or what the hell was this? Because I am just super confused still. Would love to know what you think. Thank you, and sorry for the long story. And I totally understand if it's too graphic for the show, but it feels slightly paranormal to me. LOL. So I thought I would send it in. Mary. No, 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 no. Wasn't graphic. It was not too graphic. And it wasn't too long. I think I thought it was short, but I guess it was decent size. But I think you could tell by my tone where we're going with this. I didn't think it would be a too shocker for you. However, I'm going to explain how they did all these things. And was any part of it paranormal? Let's hear what I have to say. Okay, so I thought we were going to hear what I had to say to Mary. However, her recording got corrupted, hence why you are hearing this a day late, because I discovered this at like 1 in the morning. So interesting. I wouldn't read too much into it. But I will tell you instead, because she's off like for a week and she wouldn't be able to record for a week, and I really wanted to post this one. I had already recorded myself reading everything, the email to you guys, and I already told her everything. So I didn't want to like redo it and it kind of sound falsy, because the whole magic of this podcast is that you guys hear my take on it in real time. You know what I mean? Or you hear it with her. She's hearing it for the first time, and you're hearing it for the first time, and doing a recap on it might be difficult. So interesting. Okay, so here's what I had told her. So you didn't hear what I had told her. So when it came to the beginning parts, when it's the when she first got there, the candle that she spent money on. And I actually think in the original recording, I didn't tell her this, but the candle that she had them purchase, of course, what they do is they kind of say, okay, we're going to make this easy. Go ahead and get like your candle stuff. The first session is free, right? They come in, they assess her, they say, okay, no worries. We're just going to take a look and see what's going on with you. So she's like comfortable. She's like, it's free. What could go wrong? It can't be that bad, that type of thing. So she's more open. She's more, she's like, it kind of makes someone feel safer because the person isn't charging you at anything at all. So, that's what they did with her. And then at first, they got the candle and they made a candle for her. And then they, of course, after, they made her pay quite a bit of money. And what you didn't hear is that she says she paid $500 for the candle. You heard me correct. And she said, well, there were several candles. Still, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Even if it was several candles, it was $500. And that is when it starts to, that's when we start to get into what I know you guys already know I'm going to say, is that they're starting to scam her. For sure. Okay, so what happened and what she told me was that they had her buy 3 candles, and then of course one of them explodes, and she has no idea if that's true. They just took a picture. So everyone paying attention, writing down your notes. If people tell you like, I'm going to do something for you, if you ever get spell magic, including candle magic, I know people sometimes will say they do the spell magic, candle magic, and they'll put it on their own altar. I've done this for people in the past who I've known very well, like people who I was friends with. And I was like, okay, they know for a fact that, I'm putting this on my altar. They trust me. But for strangers, if somebody's saying, oh, I'll put it on my altar, you can't trust that. You have no idea what they're doing. You don't even know if they're doing anything at all. You really want to make sure if you go to a store and they do candle magic, go to the store, get the candle from them, pick it up, burn it yourself. A matter of fact, a very amazing witch once told me when I used to get candle magic, she's like, you don't need to do this. You have the magic in you. Adela, she goes, you're more than capable. I'm going to give you the herbs, because they used herbs. Some people use herbs. And she says, you can do all the rest yourself. You could do it that way, or you can have somebody dress a candle for you, but never, ever just allow someone to put candle magic on their altar and you're just going to trust they're going to burn it for you. I'm just saying. So that's what they did with her. Of course, she had to pay quite a bit of money for that. And then she went in and the whole cotton ball thing. So how did that happen? Well, I'm sure some of you might have guessed. When she's not looking, and what she told me when I, talked to her, is that she was in the room and her eyes were closed and the woman was sitting near her, kind of like, to the side of her. And because of that, she thinks it may even been behind her. Anyway, the cotton ball goes in. It already has, this is what happened. This is what I'm telling you I see happened, okay? That the red dye is already in the cotton ball and it drops into the water. And of course, she sees it as blood. So that, that is the interesting part. Now, before you're thinking, Adela, however, this could be true, but you recorded her and the recording was corrupted. Could this be something? Well, let me put it to you this way. I recorded her, but she didn't want to have video. So we only did audio, and I did video of me. And I wasn't even sure how that was going to pan out, like if it was going to come out. And in the middle of the recording, I do believe there was like a drop, and it was already kind of hard to hear her. So I feel like this was truly a technical thing, because now, if there is any spiritual connection, meaning that a spirit or energies are interrupting this in a negative, quote unquote, those who don't see my hands, because reminding you that I do post these podcasts on my YouTube, so you can watch this or you can listen. It would be something trying not to let me tell people the truth, because what she told me is that there's lines of people that come to the place that she went to in South America. And in those, and I said to her, I asked her the question, is it very common that people in that culture, in that area, go to people like this? She's like, yeah, absolutely. It's very common. And I said, okay, so therefore, it made the trust even be more there, right? So like, she's like, yeah, there's like people go to them all the time. I saw like a line. So of course her trust is even more amplified. Oh, they're not trying to like trick me, that type of thing. And that's where the taking advantage comes into play. So that's the cotton ball situation. So let's go forward to the black worm. Now, the thing about it is that you have to realize that when this is what I had originally explained to her, when you have people, scamming you, because this is a scam, it's a buildup. It's never like right away. It's not like somebody says to you, like, oh, come in here, we're going to pull a worm out of your throat. It is always going to be, but it is faster than just like a couple of weeks. It is like, hi, we're going to assess you, and we're going to like, quote, read you, and we're going to tell you what we see. And then it's going to be a curse, and then it's going to be a hex or something like that, that type of thing. And then it's going to be like, okay, we can like clear it. Then they're going to clear it. Then they're going to be like, oh no, it didn't do it enough. Now we have to do something else. You see what I mean? So that's kind of usually how it goes in that way. It's not like, that it doesn't happen in the sense of somebody's like, oh, let's work on you for weeks. I mean, cults kind of do that and all that. But honestly, it's always like pushing the bar to see what you're willing to do. So if someone's like willing to pay $500 for a candle, maybe they're willing to pay $1,000 for this. And that is what they paid. She did tell me it was a few $1,000s they were already in. Might even been a bit more. Because she has some medical issues, and she explained that to me when I had her on, she was willing to do it. And that's the sad part. They were taking advantage of her really, really wanting to find other answers besides traditional doctor answers. And that is why I'm actually not re-recording her, because she's gone for a week trying to get doctor treatments and things. So this is what makes me so upset about people taking advantage of people in this situation. Okay. The worm thing. How did that happen? So this is what I told her. They had her go and get, to remind you, an antibiotic, and that's a safe pill for her to swallow. If she swallows an antibiotic, really nothing's going to happen to her. You know what I mean? Like if she swallows an antibiotic, then she's totally going to be fine. Like nothing could really, they know that, like, it's not like go get some sleeping pills or go get some, painkillers or whatever. It's like an antibiotic. They know it's harmless. So they know, like, if they having her go buy something, weirdly, it kind of sounds like they have some ethics, or they just want to make sure that the person doesn't hurt themselves. They're like, we're trying to scam you for money. We're not actually trying. We're just trying to take your. So that's my sense is why they went. And the other reason, which I feel is the top reason, and this just came to me right now, is because it's easy to probably just get something like that. I'm not sure how it is in where she was, but I'm sure it's just like no big deal to just get like some antibiotics. Anyway, so that's my feel on it. My feel on it is that they were like, this is just like, won't hurt her. If she accidentally takes one of these, it's not like we're having her go get like some opiates or something like that. You see what I'm saying? So she brings the pills to them. They make it seem like, and also it kind of has all these layers of things like, oh, and on top of it, it's going to help you because it's antibiotics. So we're trying to clean you out. You see what I mean? So they tie the pill to the string, but it's a switch. It's a sleight of hand. So the sleight of hand removes that, and they have her swallow something else. It's almost like, I want to say, like a sponge type of thing that once wet, you know what I mean? Like springs up. So it just kind of like if you put it in water, it like, like a sponge, it like goes out. So I feel like what they did was she had swallowed something she thought was the pill, but it really was that. And then once it got into her system and the water hits it and they pull it out right away, boom, it looks like a worm. You see what I mean? Sleight of hand, baby, sleight of hand. These are some really good magicians. I feel like they should go on America's Got Talent. Now, here's the thing. It is very true that magicians do all kinds of things like this. And one of my experiences that I've had is that magicians tend to not believe in people who do what I do. I have heard this many times from several magicians that are like, yeah, there's nothing that really can convince me because they know all these tricks. They know all these sleight of hand tricks. They also know what cold reading is. And for those of you who don't know cold reading, here's a little education. Cold reading is like what you've seen John Edwards do. If you've ever seen that medium, it's talking really fast and saying, is it a T? Is it S? Is it A? Is it B? Is it F? Oh, now, just so you know, John Edwards and people enough time and so much content in the world and so much time has passed, but people don't know that he was caught having cameras and mics in his audience and everything he was doing was caught to be fake. His argument was that he was a legit medium, but he was doing a TV show and they wanted him to be correct every single time for him to, be spot on every time because the show didn't want him to have mistakes. So he agreed to the mics and to the cameras. Let me get out my fan. I'm fanning myself for those who can't see. Can you hear it? Because I'm like, listen, I get it. I get people want stardom. They want fame and they want to have these things. And I get ego gets in the way. But that's a problem right there. Again, you're taking advantage, and it makes it so fucking hard for people who, and I'm pointing to me, who are trying to legitimately, and what I joked with her, and you guys didn't hear me say, is like, I guess I'm in the wrong business, okay? Because it was thousands of dollars that they charged her. I'm like, am I, this is why this is why my life is the way it is, because I'm ethically sound. And honestly, people who are ethically sound tend not to do all the bells and whistles. That's what I'm trying to let people know. People who are ethically sound are not trying to be theatrical. We're not trying to create all the theatrics. We're trying to just do what's best to help you. It's very hard to gauge the difference because ego comes into play no matter what. People have ego. We're human. We want to be liked. We want to be loved. We want to be appreciated. We want to feel admired for the work we're doing. But that's not what these people were coming from her. This is purely a well-oiled machine. Like a well-oiled machine, much like John Edwards. That was a well-oiled machine. He knew how to talk fast. He knows how to say, is it a T? Is it F? Oh, there was a watch. It was a bear. It was a this. It was a that. And anytime he'd hit on something and he'd see a look in their eyes and he would know that's my person. Not to mention a lot of these people have you fill out forms before you come to those events and you fill out who you want to talk to. You fill out, things about yourself. I'm just saying. So I'm telling you, they knew what this poor family was looking for, help for their sick child, and they wanted to do anything. And what she said, and you didn't hear this because we had a corrupt file, but what she told me is this was only 2 years ago. So her, she's a grown person. So her family's just so hard trying to help her. And that is the heartbreaking and sad part of all this. Okay, so let's move on to the last part, which was the magic handwriting that as it was put over the candle, right? And all of a sudden the handwriting appeared. That's just invisible ink. Anybody can get that at a magic store or on Amazon, I'm sure. Drinking a sip of water. And they already wrote something before she came, and it's magic ink. Now, I think she told me that she had to bring her paper herself, even if she brought the paper. All of these things, everybody, is a way to get you people to believe, oh, look, I had you brought the paper. So you brought it. You think of magicians, they do stuff like that. Oh, you saw me, right? Look, this is this, right? You saw me. I handed it to you. You held it in your hand. But sleight of hand is an amazing talent. So the key to, and so that's what I feel happened. And then there's something called um, basically like uh it's called a push. You push. I'm blanking on the actual magician's terms, but I think it's called like a push or something, like you push someone to believe something. So it's not too hard. They have already taken this poor family through all of these things where they had them like believe in all of these things along the way. They're like, oh, look this. Oh, look that. Oh, look this. And so now they're having the handwriting appear. And they're like, and I asked her, I said, did you tell them, like, did they say the name of the relative? And she said no. They didn't say the name of the relative, but her father confirmed. So what I know happened is that the handwriting appeared and they said, oh, does this look familiar? And he's like, yeah, that's my aunt so and so. Yes, it's your aunt so and so. That's a very big trick. Even I've seen, even unfortunately, I've seen readers in places I've read do these tricks. It's not that hard to just kind of go, oh yeah, it's that. You know what I mean? And then the person's like, oh, okay. So this is what happened. That's it. So all of this, and she's so confused because she's scared. She saw blood, she saw worms, and she said that the person's like coughing it up, and it's all these theatrics. And this is why I always tell people theatrics is not necessary. And I have been amongst other people who have told me that I'm too calm, I do things too normal, that I should add more, flair to what I'm doing, yada, yada, yada. And all of these people I know who've done this is because that's how they're doing it. Because while they're doing all the theatrics, the real stuff gets kind of lost. My belief is that I'm just going to read you. Actually, reading people and watching reading people is kind of boring. Like you're just going to say some mundane thing. To me, when I want people to know that I'm really trying to connect to someone, I'll say something like, oh, this is what, that maybe that person who passed told that person while they were dying, or when they were a child, things like this. Like those are things that kind of go to people, oh my gosh, like, yes, how did you know that? People get so caught up in like, oh, they got a name, they got a date. In today's world, the reason why I trained myself more and more to try to abandon those things is because people can look things up. But if you get like something random, like something happened in January last year, that's different. But if you're like, oh, they knew my father's birth date, it's something, it's true. But even if I get those, I'm always trying to dig for something more and more personal. But what people get caught up in, someone comes floating in a white dress and they sit down in front of them and they're silent and they like do all these theatrics, and now they bring out the paper and they put it over the fire and the writing appears. It's because we like that stuff. We want it to be that way. Honestly, like the paranormal is more subtle than that. Magic is actually more subtle than that. And I think that people just don't find it as exciting. They want it to be because it helps them to, quote, believe. Because if you rely on your own intuition, if you rely on this feels right, oh, I did experience something interesting, I know because I can tell by why I feel it and I sense it. It's almost like stretching you too hard. You want it to like just kind of someone to tell you, I'm the mommy, I'm the daddy, I'm going to tell you what's wrong. You see what I mean? In healing, you have to participate in your own healing. You have to be a part of it. You have to be a participant in it. It really isn't like only for someone to just do and take away. I know that's the way we want it. And trust me, as someone who suffers from chronic back pain, I understand that you want it to be like, just take it away. But I've learned that we have to participate in the magic and in the healing process in all areas of physical, mental, and spiritual. That's why in my readings, I always make people choose what type of reading they want at the time of their reading because I want people to participate. So, unfortunately, this was not real. I don't feel. And I feel like what happened, and I was hoping there was some kind of paranormal something. I just didn't see it. But because I knew when she was, when I was hitting all those marks, and when she described to me how they kind of broke it up like that, and how there was a line out the door, and this is in South America where people really, really believe in stuff like this, and everyone's just like, they want to see those ritual, things. They're kind of taking the ritual like beliefs that people believe in those types of world place, in that country and the place she's in. And she said, I asked her, was it like a hut somewhere, because honestly I would believe that more. She said no, it kind of looked like a doctor's office, which makes it more sketchy to me, to be honest, because I'm like, okay, because legit I have found legit people of places like that, they'll probably go take you to their house and do it like in their living room or something, which will make you kind of weirded out because they're just going to do it real quick and then move on. They have a whole, like I said, a whole machine going on. So even though we didn't get to hear from Mary, I really appreciate you sending in your story. I hope you're getting the real healing that you need and the real help you need. We all want to send positive energy to Mary. So please, let's just wave the magic wand for her because I want the positive energy for her. And I didn't get to do my little chime bells. But anyway, so I definitely feel that's what happened. But as you can see, the story I told you in the Medium Brew Cafe fit very much to this one. I still was able to I remembered everything I told her because it just really like hit me, everything. I was just like, so like, wow, I can't believe this happened to this poor lady. She was on my podcast before. If you don't remember, she has the episode about the Bermuda Triangle. So you can go check that one out. And we talked about like what's going on with Mary's parents. In that episode, her parents took her to the Bermuda Triangle and some shit went down. And now she's being taken and has some shit's going. I said, are your parents aliens? She said, maybe. Anyway, I so appreciate it. I wanted to remind everybody that I'm doing a in-person and Zoom class. It will be a workshop with Jackie, who I had on last week. We're doing a workshop where we're helping people get back to you, women especially who are not feeling like themselves. Speaking of healing, this is how we're doing it properly. It's very chill. We're just sitting down in a room with a piece of paper that we will be writing on. No, we're not writing on a piece of paper, but we're going to actually tell you what we see going on with you, enhance with your medical physicians, meaning like she's going to kind of help see what's going on because she has a background in athletic, health. And so she's going to kind of look and see in her spiritual sight, but also help you understand what's going on with your body. I'm going to look and see what's going on with your spirit so we can help you get on the right track. That's again how healing happens. It happens with you participating in it. That's going to be this Sunday, and you get 2 of us for $50. That's it. And you can join on Zoom, or we have 3 spots only left in person here in Los Angeles, Burbank, California, in Burbank. So we hope to see you there. Thank you all so much. This was a little unusual. I know you're going to be like, I don't know, Adela. The audio got corrupted. I was already iffy if it was going to work because she was going to not be videoed, but I was, and she was only going to be sound. So I was already worried about it, but I don't know. No, I kind of know, but I do feel, however, I'll leave you with this. truth and trying to educate people and trying to get people the real stuff, to educate people and let people realize that the power is within you and your intuition is within you and your knowing is within you. I have always felt something's trying to stop me from letting people know that. So that I can believe. Follow yourself, follow no one, listen to your inner voice, and I'll see you soon.